welcome to Rêve Livre, where I discuss all my favorite bookish things. And today I am going to talk about two kind of similar subjects, but the genres are completely different. And they're both about healing plants, apothecaries. First one I'm going to talk about is this Poison Heart, Kalynn Bayron. I just saw this cover and I'm like, oh, I love it. So fierce. She has there's this fierce main character, Briseis, and power emanating from her, confidence, and just like the plants. I love plants. So this is a young adult fantasy set in contemporary times, set in Brooklyn. Briseis is this high school kid. I think she might be 16, 17. She has this really strong affinity for plants. And it turns out it's not just an affinity, it's actually a power, a secret power or a curse. When we meet her, she is struggling with this almost uncontrollable power that she has. She can make anything grow. She hasn't quite learned how to master it because plants, trees, flowers, any living green thing, any plant, even not even living plants, even sometimes dead plants, they like gravitate towards her. So they'll start growing wildly. So she doesn't know how to control it. Like she'll be sitting in class and the plants outside if she's near a window, the plants and trees will like just start growing and they'll stay green and thriving even through the dead of winter. She walks through a park or a field or a garden, all the plants just are drawn to her, and so they'll start leaning in and start growing like they would towards the sun. This has caused a lot of problems for her, and she's actually lost friends because of it. They think something's really wrong with her and they're completely weirded out, and she doesn't know how to tell them. A lot of times in young adult middle grade novels, you have parents that are kind of clueless and absent. They love their kids or they don't love the kids, but they're just kind of out of the picture. They're kind of oblivious to what's going on. They're too busy, in the background while the kids are running around. Like, meanwhile, they're in danger. The universe is about to explode and the parents have no idea. Briseis has two moms that they are so cool. She was adopted, and by these two moms who, one of them runs a flower shop, which makes it convenient and kind of inconvenient when Briseis helps out at the flower shop because of her strange power with plants. But the moms know what's going on with her. They're not clueless. They are actually very present, which I love. I love it when they pick parents who are actual normal parents who like are just going to be in their kids' business. Like, what's going on with you? They're very comic. I love the banter between the two of the moms and between the moms and Briseis. They're just a very tight-knit family, very loving family, protective and loving, and it's a very heartwarming. I love that part. Aside from that, the familial relationships in this is just Briseis herself. She's kind of a plucky girl. And I love that she wants to be in botany. She's interested in all sorts of things. She is like way ahead of the game. She knows all of the species and the genus, is that the plural? I don't know, of plants. She's very well learned about botany and all sorts of plants and flowers and their uses. And she's even like trying to grow things that she shouldn't be growing with some terrible results. They're in Brooklyn, right? And things are not going so well when she receives notification that she's inherited this estate from an aunt she never knew because she was adopted. I guess it was an open adoption. Her birth mother, they knew that she was dead, but they didn't know that the birth mother had a sister, and the sister has died and willed her this 40-acre estate in upstate New York. When they go there, she finds out more about her mother, her aunt, and they have this mysterious witchy lineage going back to, and if you can't guess, by the name Briseis. It's a lot of Greek mythology woven, and I love what the author did. She kind of did a revisionist approach to these Greek female characters that have been maligned, like Circe and Medea, especially Medea. Don't worry if you don't know what these Greek characters were all about in the traditional mythology, because the author, Kalynn Bayron, explains like what the traditional Greek characters have been, depicted as, and then what the actual truth of the matter was. And it's all part of Briseis' family. The writing is spectacular. The characters are really good. The plot is fast. I listened to this 90% as an audiobook. And then I kind of got the book from the library because I wanted to just kind of like, speed it up. Actually, the narrator of the book is fantastic. It almost seemed like there were like 10 different actors. Narrators really are just the crux of audiobooks, because I have read some books that were supposed to be really, really good and are really, really good. And then I listened to them as an audiobook, and it's like, oh, this is I can't deal with this. I don't care how wonderful the story is, but the narrator is like just getting on my nerves. I can't. That happened to me recently. Shout out to the narrator of this Poison Heart, because she did a fabulous job. I'm going to read a little bit. This is when the moms and Briseis decide to check out this estate that she's inherited. This is one of the tropes that I love, is moving into a new house, and it's like it's going to be weird. It's going to be a weird house. I love the weird houses that you move into in a book. The road narrowed, then stopped abruptly at two towering pillars. It looked like there had once been a gate, but that was long gone, and the faded brick pillars were now crumbling. Mom pulled into the driveway, and the house came into view. "Is this it?" Mom asked. "This can't be right." It stood like it had sprouted from the ground, like a living thing. Its foundation was covered in thick green moss. A lattice work on the side was completely encased in a tangle of leafy vines. Hundreds of tendrils jutted off, stretching across nearby every surface of the slate gray house. They wound around its conical turret, laced themselves through the banister, traced the pointed arches over the windows and doors like picture frames. The inky black trim highlighted all the angles. A big green dumpster sat on the side of the house, and from what I could see of the ground, somebody had slacked off on mowing. Did I inherit the Addams family mansion?" I stammered. And she finds gardens within the gardens of like these strange plants, and also an apothecary, an old apothecary. She has to make choices about how she's going to precede this old apothecary, her loaded lineage, because she just didn't inherit the house. She didn't just inherit the grounds and the garden. A lot more comes with the house, and it's kind of turns dangerous. There are a couple love interests. There's one that was described as a young Trevante Rhodes, and I'm all, okay. Ooh, I perk up at the mention of Trevante Rhodes. Yeah, young Trevante Rhodes. I'll sign up for that. But then it's complicated by the appearance of a seductive, mysterious stranger. This character leaps off the page, fireworks, and it's just the way this character described. Who do you think she's going to end up with? Which one of them has ulterior motives, and who's going to be better for her? What I love is that it's all intertwined with twist on Greek mythology. I love the way Kalynn Bayron mixed that up and came up with something fresh. Just this is a fantastic young adult fantasy. One thing though, a lot of things are resolved, but it does end in a cliffhanger. There is a sequel, so I don't have too long to wait. And it ends in quite a doozy. It's like, what? I suspect the author is going to weave in another Greek mythology. I'm not going to say which one, but I have a feeling that it's because of the way it ended. She's going to end up just like totally dissecting and putting back together in a whole new fresh way, like all the Greek mythologies, and how like women have been wrong. So it's very feminist, and it's black girl magic at its finest, a literal black girl magic. Highly recommend this. It's wonderful, and I can't wait for the sequel. And I'm going to talk about this other book I read that's actually also has an apothecary. It also has plants and healing, and it's very feminist. I read it as an ebook, The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. This is the adult fiction. It has to do with dual timelines. The first one is contemporary, it's present time. This woman, she's going to divorce her husband. She's about to divorce her husband, and she runs off London in the anniversary trip that she and her husband were supposed to have by herself, just to think about things and to figure out what she's going to do next. Her marriage has broken down, goes to London, and that's the present timeline. The past timeline has to do with the actual apothecary. The 1600s London. Nella runs this neighborhood apothecary. It's actually a secret apothecary, and she only serves women. Absolutely no fantasy in this. What I liked about it was that a lot of it is historical fiction based on fact. These actual apothecaries, it's like kind of your neighborhood pharmacist. Instead of going to the store, you go to the person around the corner and knock on their door and ask them, it's like, do you have something for this or that or whatever? Well, she's a very special apothecary. She only serves women, and she has vowed, Nella has vowed to only help women, to heal them. But she also has other concoctions for women who are in trouble, like in trouble, and has to do like poisons as well. What I like about this is the historical aspect and all, again, the plants and the mixing of concoctions and historical detail. I like that all the women in the story they're strong, they have agency, they're powerful in this world that's very patriarchal and not very friendly to women. And just kind of women are just kind of mostly powerless because the power has been taken from them. This apothecary, who only caters to women, kind of grabs some of that power back so that women can extricate themselves from dangerous situations. How the contemporary timeline with Kalynn, the wife in the present day, is she kind of stumbles upon this old jar that is from back in the apothecary days, and she gets really curious about it and tries to research it. And in the meanwhile, you get these wonderful facts about London and what it was like, fascinating tidbits, and she goes into a deep dive. She goes into this rabbit hole about like where this jar came from. It is a very unique looking jar, and so she traces it. You go to the library, finds out what happened, who this person is, and so the two storylines merge. Kalynn is kind of, we're looking at it through her eyes, like what happened to this woman. She gets in trouble, that the apothecary, she gets in trouble back in her day. How is she going to get herself out? How is she going to rescue herself? Those are the two books that I enjoyed recently, both with apothecaries, plants, and healing, and strong, powerful women. Things are kind of growing, and it's like green outside, and I'm propagating plants. I'm always propagating plants. It's like I have jars everywhere in the house. These books kind of like I'm reading something, a story, but it has to do with just my personal interest, like plants and things like that. And let me know if you've read them. Leave me a comment down below, letting me know if it's something that you'd like to try, something that interests you, or something that you similar to like plants, apothecary, like either historical fiction or fantasy. I love all that stuff. So if you can think of something that's like that you think I might like, just let me know. As I was reading this Poison Heart, I got to thinking about the Nathaniel Hawthorne story, Rappaccini's Daughter, about this young guy who like spies this garden next door, this strange garden. It's in the public domain, so you can check it out. You can find it in online. it'll be like, you know, a 20-minute read. So he spies this garden next door, and it's just filled with plants he's never seen before. And it's beautiful plants. It's the garden of Rappaccini, who is this mysterious scientist who has a terrible reputation. But Rappaccini also has this daughter, this beautiful daughter that I think Giovanni's his name. Giovanni spies in the garden one day, and he, of course, it's love at first sight. He falls in love, and there the story flows. And that, to me, is like the perfect story to juxtapose with this Poison Heart and the Lost Apothecary, because the female in this story is basically a pawn of her father. Her name is Beatrice Rappaccini. She is linked mysteriously to this garden, this strange garden. They're all poison plants, basically. She is kind of between the dad, this mad scientist type, and this lovesick boy next door who like loves her for her beauty and his sweetness. Ultimately, like, the two clash, and she's in the middle, and things have been done to her against her will, and she's a victim. I would suggest you check that out too. It's a really quick read, and it's very interesting, and it's just brought me to mind when I was reading this Poison Heart. I love that those two books that I talk about, like, these women are not victims. They're basically like running the show, and no man is gonna dictate what is going to happen to them. That's it for today. I hope to see you in the next one. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And in the meanwhile, I hope you find a good book, a great book, and that you get lost in some reading. So